Okay, so hi guys, everybody that's here. What a nice number, 100 people are in the room. I'm Mr. Nierenberg, CAP Advisor at Palmetto. I'm being joined tonight by Elizabeth Valero, our Activities Director, Linda Dwyer, our CAP Interventionist, and Gina Vidweza, our PTSA President. Gina, did you want to say anything about PTSA while we're here? I know I didn't tell you we're doing that, but do you want to say anything about possibility, or should I just brag about them?
Yeah, just join. And if you want to brag, that's great too.
Yeah, I mean, guys, if you're not a member of PTSA, I know with this year, it's been a little bit difficult with communications and things, but if you're not a member, as a staff member for so many years and also being a member for so many years, can't tell you how often and the PTSA has perked our spirits up, made us feel better, and given us a level of support that in the 4 schools that I've worked in, there's no comparison to the Palmetto PTSA. So please think about joining if you don't join. And that's my pitch, and I'll go from there. So this is Junior Parent Night. Welcome. We have about 300 days until graduation. That's school days. And thought this would be a good time to start Junior Parent Night. And we're going to start off with Liz Valero. Sorry, Elizabeth. And I'm going to put her PowerPoint up and let her go. So give me 1 second while I move forward. And
we will be sharing the recording. We're going to record this. And Ms. Valero, will we put this up on the website, or Mr. Nierenberg will it go on YouTube?
Yeah, it'll go on our website through a link to YouTube. Because I'm seeing the chat that there was a max, something happened with the max out. So we'll figure it out, and we will definitely put it all up on
it'll be on my Facebook scholarship page, PTSA website,
our school website.
Yeah, we'll have it all over. So
I
there's
was
a little
about that.
So if we go from this point on, let's talk about, I guess we can't ignore COVID totally, can we? But we can hope that we're going to have some sense of normalcy return to us as time goes on. So Elizabeth's it's your show.
Yeah, okay, hi everyone. So I'm gonna just try to go through this briefly because I know that the main thing you wanna hear about is all the college requirements and things you need to start focusing on for your junior, soon to be senior. But since we're talking about junior, soon to be senior, we do want to think about our senior year and everything that the students have to look forward to when it comes to their senior year. So I just want to very briefly just tell you like a little instance where there was, I always threaten, I guess you could say, the students that you never know what's going to happen when it comes to money and prices and different things like that. And I always encourage them to make sure that this junior fundraiser that they do for their senior year is incredibly successful, because we need to make sure that that money is there just in case. Well, cut to the year 2020 into 2021, and we've figured out what that just in case could sometimes mean. Here we are at the start of the class of 2021's senior year, and they have money in their account to cover everything that they need, including the graduation that is completely paid for by this fundraiser. And there are schools all over the county that fundraise in their senior year, in the fall of their senior year, to make the money for their graduation and their senior activities. And in this case, they're not allowed to fundraise. There's no fundraising that can be done. All their fundraisers are being canceled or postponed, and they're finding that they're very worried about not having enough funds to cover their graduation. So I've always told them, you never know what's going to happen in this world, and here we are in that moment. So so we're very lucky that this class, the class of 21, fundraised and very successfully last year with this same fundraiser, the magazines and the Edda's Bunk Cakes, and they have all the money that they're going to need to cover all of their graduation expenses. And then hopefully 1 or 2 senior events that they're going to have. We'll see how the year goes. But I'm hoping that next year's senior class, the class of 2022, will have their full and celebratory senior year. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the fundraiser itself. So it funds a couple of things. It funds all the down payments for everything. So the down payment for the venue that we have prom, the down payment for all the buses that we need to put down when we go to Grad Bash at Universal Orlando, and it also funds their graduation in complete entirety. So those are some of the examples of the cost of some of the things that they're going to be doing. And the beauty of the fundraiser is if the fundraiser is successful, then it is going to cut the costs of some of their tickets as well. So you can keep going. So I'm not going to read a lot of the fundraisers. So basically, what you guys need to know as parents is that it's all going to be done online. It is a completely no contact fundraiser because they're going to be selling everything through this website and sending all the information to family, friends, etc. through the website, and the website will make sure that delivery is scheduled for the recipients of who who is purchasing the items. So no contact, the kids will not have any contact at all. That was very important to us in this year. Go ahead. So step one is going to be that the child is going to register. They're going to register under their school name, Palmetto, and they're going to put all their information in. When they go to the website for the first time, it's going to ask them for a code. And all they have to do is click the button that says search for school to get the code. And we weren't going to worry about giving the kids a code that they were going to forget. So all they have to do is search for Miami Palmetto, and it'll take them to their landing page. You can keep going. And so they'll watch a basic video, they'll enter all their information, and the information is in order for them to get the full credit for the sale. Because every time they send someone to their own page, they will get automatic and complete credit for the sale. And what I mean by credit for the sale is you'll see at the end, is because we do give them rewards for everything that they do. Keep going. They'll do a verification page. Next slide. And they'll create an avatar because everything has an avatar nowadays. They're always avataring, and this is the part that the company says is their favorite part. Whatever, it can be, it doesn't have to be. Next. And yeah, they'll earn rewards for their avatar. That's great. Continue. Next. And then they can also design a personal storefront, and that's up to every child. If they feel that it's something that they would benefit from, like recording a video of themselves explaining why this fundraiser is important to them, why it's important for them to make as many sales as possible, then more power to them. Record the video. If they want to put pictures of themselves and the stuff that they want to be able to do for senior year, they can do that too. But it really is up to each individual child. They don't have to. Continue. They upload a video. Continue.
There's one more in the car, yeah.
And then here's the important part. Here's where they're going to send all the information. So they have options on how they send the information to their friends and family. There's 3 options. The first one is to email them directly. So they'll put in the person's name, who they are, and their email. That happens on this step. Go ahead. And this is just like a preview of what it'll look like when it is sent, when they have their storefront sent. Go ahead. That's what their email is going to look like to their family members. Next. And then this is option 2 on how they can share. They can share on Facebook and Twitter through their social media or through your social media if you're going to be helping them out. They can put that, and this is what it's going to look like when they're on Facebook. A basic just a tagline for what they want to say, and then it'll have that. Now, another thing that it does have as well is it has the option to share a link. So they can post links anywhere. They can post links on their Instagram, on their blogs that they have, whatever. It will give them a link as well. So they can share through an email, through social media that's linked on this website, or they can copy the link down and send it in any other way or format that they want to. All right, go ahead. It also, sorry, keep going. Okay, it also gives them the option to print flyers. We're not encouraging them to print flyers because we're trying to go with the no contact. But if you as parents want to print the flyers and give them out at your job sites to help your students, that's also an option. Or they can even mail it if they have grandparents that love to get mail and they think they'd like that. That's an option as well too. All right. So this is kind of a, keep going, a preview of what the sales sheet's gonna look like. Next. And then it's going to give them a page where they can manage their campaign. So they can see how many sales that they have and just take a look at how everything's going. We get daily updates. We get updates constantly from the company as well. Next. And then that's fine. They can manage their address book if they're that type of student, they like to do that. So this is what the online store is going to look like. And this is really important because this was a little bit confusing when the students got all the information. If you see on the left side, you see where it says magazines, it doesn't show the full scroll bar, but if you scroll all the way down, the magazines are there by category. There is also the Edda's cakes are there at the bottom. It says Edda's cakes, so you can click on that if that's what you're trying to purchase. And there's also a spot for just straight donations. If you have a relative or a friend that wants to make just a monetary donation to the class of 2022, go ahead. So know that everything is on that site. So as you can see, they can make donations, they can buy bunk cakes, they can make magazine subscriptions. And all the magazine subscriptions, whether you're currently subscribed or not, will continue at the end of the subscription that you already have. So if you're like, I already have magazines that I get subscriptions for, you can renew through this company. It'll do it automatically. You don't even have to worry about it. All right, next. So the best part about this fundraiser really for the students, beyond the fact that it will fund their senior year, is that it will fund them personally if they make certain sales. So for example, there are if they sell 10 items in this fundraiser, they're going to get 2 extra graduation tickets. Why does that matter? Because at this point, they only get a certain amount of graduation tickets, and we may not be thinking about that right now, but when it comes time for them to graduate and you only get a certain amount and your whole family wants to come and celebrate your child, those 2 extra graduation tickets are a great way to make sure that that happens. And there is no other way to get extra graduation tickets. We do not sell them. That's the main thing, is we don't want to sell graduation tickets, and we don't want the kids selling them either. So the only way that you can assure yourself additional tickets is through this fundraiser. Then you can see all the different items that they can reach by selling a certain amount of items. Their t-shirt, picnic, homecoming, prom, and grad bash, and those prizes accumulate. So if they sell 50 items, their entire senior year is paid for. They don't have to pay a dime for tickets to any of their senior year. And they get VIP service. So as soon as they're ready to come pick up their ticket, they just come to the front of the line, pick up their ticket, and go. So it really is worth it. And when you saw those prices at the beginning of the presentation, you know, senior year just in tickets alone can cost upwards of like $350 to $400. And that's actually something I can't even predict at the moment because of what we believe is going to be an increase in pricing for everything from events to travel in the year 21-22. So we just need to be ready for that. But if they participate in this fundraiser, no matter what, if that price for grad bash goes up to $300, it's covered, it's taken care of. All right, go ahead. So what counts as an item sold? No, back. What counts as an item? Back. Go back, Harry, back. Just one. Next. There we go. What counts as an item sold? It's going to be every cake that's sold is one item. Every magazine subscription. No, you've gone back too far. I think it's free. It's going too fast. Every magazine subscription is one item. And note that there are a few subscriptions that are buy one, get ones, meaning it's one subscription, but 2 magazines. That one subscription counts as one subscription, as one item. So if it's a BOGO deal, it's one item. But for every subscription, that's an item sold. And for every $15 donated, you will count as an item. So we're obviously not counting out the kids whose family just donates money. So for example, if someone donates $45, that counts as 3 items sold. All right, next. So our the fundraiser starts now. The website is open, even though on paper, technically it's the 23rd. The website is open. The kids can get themselves ready and start sending everything out. Our goal is 15,000. That sounds insane and incredibly large, but last year they raised 13. So all I did was raise it up an extra $2,000 to say that this is what we can do. If everyone participates in the junior class, it's going to be an easy fundraiser. And they have until the 4th to sell. The 4th is so that we can guarantee that the cakes get delivered by the holidays, because ideally that's what these are for. The cakes are going to be for gift giving. So that's the last day to sell cakes. We might extend the magazine subscription and donations into the winter break, but that will only happen if we find that we still need to make more money, that we haven't gotten to our goal. If this is successful and we get to our goal, then we won't need to fundraise anymore. We're done. The kids will be done and they can just sit and wait for their amazing senior year. So I told the kids, be creative, reach out to everyone, anyone, even if you know it's someone that's going to tell you no, just reach out to them anyway. And I know that I don't usually like to ask the parents to help because I think you have adults on your hands now. It always is helpful when you guys reach out, especially in your place of work and everything. And I don't know, think back to a Girl Scout cookies that you bought and tubs of cookie dough and wrapping paper that you've bought for your friends, and ask them to go ahead and try and support your child as we try to fund this year. So I'm going to go ahead and end here. There's one more thing that I do need to mention that has, and that is that if you have a child that has not ordered a ring, a senior class ring, excuse me, those are still on sale. We had a lot of parents that didn't know that the junior ring, that the rings were being sold, especially because they don't imagine that it happens in junior year. But it does. They do sell the rings in their junior year. Those are still on sale through Herf Jones. They're doing it both virtually and they're doing it both virtually and in person. So if you could go to the next one, Harry, you can see.
That's all I had.
Oh, okay. Well, this is going to be on the school's website. You're going to see that the company is also taking orders at the Dadeland Marriott until December 4th, I believe, December 3rd or December 4th. All the information about the rings is going to be put on the school's website tomorrow morning. But just to give you an example, we've only sold a quarter of the amount of rings that we've sold in the past. So that I'm just imagining that that's because of lack of communication and us not being able to present this to the students at the start of the year. We just relied on social media to help us advertise this. But please know that if you want your child to get a ring, a class ring, and they want to get it by the delivery date, the date that everyone's going to be getting their class ring to, then they need to order it by that first week of December. It can be done through the website on Herf Jones. You can call the company directly. You can call me if you need any information, but everything is there. Okay. And please note that deadline. Herf Jones is our preferred vendor, and they have a lifetime warranty. That stone pops out, that stone scratches, there's scratching on the side. They will take care of your ring and make replacements. So we cannot emphasize enough how much we trust in Herf Jones and the quality of their rings. So they're the preferred vendor for Dade County. And make sure that you guys take that into consideration. It's a wonderful remembrance of their years at Palmetto. I want to thank you guys, all of you, for listening, it's very important for me to get this information to the parents because I know a lot of times that they don't bring this information home. And I would hate for you guys to miss out on helping your child pay for their senior year in its entirety. So there's all the information that you need. If you ever need anything, just reach out to me. But remember, the most important thing is to follow our social media, because we are constantly updating our social media and also the social media of the class of 2022 through Instagram. If you go online to our website, the Palmetto Panthers website, in the links section, it links you to my virtual activities office. That office has all the social media accounts for everyone in the school, of the classes and myself, our office, and it has a lot of information and links. It also links you all to the fundraiser page. So if you need a link to the fundraiser page, go to the virtual activities office. It's easy as can be, online through the Palmetto website. Under links, it says virtual activities office, and check back on it. It's updated constantly. I'm going to remain for like a couple minutes and see if there's any questions in the chat that I can answer. If anyone has any questions, we are not only selling magazines. Remember this, the cakes, the donations, and the magazines.
And the cakes are good. Really good.
They're Edda's.
Yeah,
So
they're really good.
they made my wedding cake.
Any questions you want to throw in the chat, people? We're welcome to take them.
I'll answer them in the chat so you can monitor that. I'll be on for the next 10 minutes or so.
You want to say any of the questions important on there you want to say out loud? Like I know Beth asked about by the holiday. Yes, you said
Yes.
that.
So remember that they will get the cakes by the holidays. However, the magazines do take about 4 to 6 weeks of processing. So you can print out the magazine subscription as like a gift, like, hey, you're going to be getting this subscription, but it takes about 4 to 6 weeks for it to process, for the magazines to start arriving at the person's home.
And there's a question about their MSO students just do everything online, right?
Everyone's doing everything online. Right. Everything is online. There is not one thing that's being done in person.
And we're going to keep asking them to, how do you give the students credit for the sales?
I will that's why they're creating their own site. So as soon as the site is created, they get credit for everyone that buys through their link. It's a personalized link and a personalized site. So as soon as I create my site, I send it to my grandma. My grandma buys the magazine. The company knows that Elizabeth Valero's grandmother bought a magazine, and I will get the credit.
And if you people can just wait your academic chats till we get onto the academic end, we'll try to answer those. Okay, so you're going to stay on for a few minutes and answer anything?
Yep, I'm going to just keep monitoring the site.
Okay, so Miss Mallard is our department chair of student services, could not make it tonight, but for the first time ever, she created a video on Zoom. So we're going to take a few minutes and listen to her talk, and we're going to she's going to talk a little bit about the graduation requirements for the class of 2021. And as I said before, we're about 300 school days left till your child hopefully will walk across the stage. So here is our little video, if I did this correctly, and we're going to watch this. And if you have any questions about this, we'll take that at the end or after we're finished.
Hello, my name is Lisa Mallard, Student Services Chairperson. And on behalf of the Student Services Department, we welcome you to Junior Parent Night. I'm here to give you guys some information on graduation. Make sure you guys are all on the right path and ready to go for graduation. For a standard 24 credit diploma, students need to complete and pass 4 years of English. 4 math classes, Algebra 1 and Geometry must be included, plus 2 others. 3 science courses, to include biology and 2 others. World history, US history, government, and economics. Within those 24 credits, students must also obtain 1 credit of a performing arts. That could be art class, that could be a dance class, that could be a business class, computers class, So there's a wide variety here at Palmetto that students are able to choose from to fulfill that performing arts credit. Students also need to fulfill a PE credit, 1 credit. Half of it is PE, half of it must be personal fitness. The other 8 credits could be elective credits. Most students use those extra credits to take their foreign language classes, which is not a requirement for graduation. However, to enter into a 4-year university, students must have 2 years of the same language, not necessarily 2 years in a row, but they must be 2 years of the same language. If a student does take one of those classes in middle school, a lot of our students will start in 6th grade, 7th grade, or 8th grade. Those will usually count as well. On top of your 24 credits, students also must obtain an unweighted GPA of a 2.0 minimum for graduation, as well as complete a Florida virtual school course. They must complete community service, which in the student progression plan, 1 hour is required for graduation. As far as testing goes, students must pass the FSA reading exam and the Algebra 1 EOC test. We can use an SAT, ACT scores, concordant scores for those as well. There's a couple of different things that we can use for those. So the best thing to do is to reach out to your child counselor to make sure that one of those tests can be used as a concordant score. As I said, your SAT and your ACT, this is an important year where students in their junior year usually do take, they start to take that test. So I would definitely make sure you start looking into getting your child registered for one of those. You register them yourself on the respective website, the SAT website, College Board, or the ACT website. If you forget to look it up, go ahead and Google them. They're very easy. SAT registration, ACT registration. Again, as a recap for a 24 credit option, you're looking for English, for math, that being out. Hello, my name is Lisa Mallard.
Sorry, guys.
Thing to do is to reach out to your child counselor to make sure that one of those tests can be used as a concordant score. As I said, your SAT and your ACT, this is an important year where students in their junior year usually do take, they start to take that test. So I would definitely make sure you start looking into getting your child registered for one of those. You register them yourself on the respective website, the SAT website, College Board, or the ACT website. If you forget to look it up, go ahead and Google them. They're very easy. SAT registration, ACT registration. Again, as a recap for a 24 credit option, you're looking for English, for math, that being Algebra 1 and geometry included, 3 sciences, biology included, your world history, US history, government, economics, 1 credit of a performing arts, 1 PE credit to include personal fitness, and then the 8 remaining credits could be student's choice. Your unweighted GPA has to be a minimum of a 2.0, Florida virtual school course, community service, as well as passing your 2 required graduation exams, which is FSA reading and your Algebra 1 EOC. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out to your child's assigned counselor. All of our emails are found on the Palmetto website. We look forward to working with all of you and helping your student reach graduation. Bye, guys.
Okie doke. So if you'll just be patient while I switch screens and go to our PowerPoint. If you would like to ask any questions about graduation and things like that, I used to be a counselor. I know some of the answers to this, and just give me 1 second.
Harry, like Ms. Mallard said, if there's any question that you asked in the chat, specific questions that he cannot answer for you today, I highly recommend that you reach out to your child's counselor. Mention at the start of the email that you were at junior parent night today and that there was you needed clarification on something that was mentioned by Miss Mallard. So that way that they can answer your question quickly, because I cannot answer any curriculum questions, and Mr. Nuremberg will try to the best of his ability to answer them as well.
Right. So, yeah, just only because there were questions about testing. We have a testing chairperson, Ms. Valencia. If anything about makeup testing and things like that, you would refer to her. All of our emails are on the school website that you can get a hold of us. This kind of forum is really not meant to answer individual questions, but to give you like an overview of what to expect in the next 300 days. And from now until graduation 2022. So Ms. Dwyer and I are going to go ahead and start our PowerPoint. We're going to go back and forth. This is not scripted, as I've said many times. So, and I guess the only thing different from a normal situation is because we're recording, I have to watch my filter. So, but besides that, I think we're going to try and do it from there. And I'm sorry for the things with the mouse, but every time I touch the mouse, it moves the screen. So I'm just going to make sure I go backwards. Is that the first one, Linda? Did I hit the right?
No, but it just said, are you ready? So this is a good place to start.
I like knowing if they're ready. Okay. All right. Well, now I did screw up. There we go. Junior chicken. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and Gina, you're going to monitor the chat for right now. Yes. Okay. And if there's questions, maybe you can. If there's one on pertaining what we're talking about, feel free to pop in and ask the question. Gina, please, at this point, please don't turn your thing off mute. We will stay and answer questions. We will not. We'll try not to let you leave with too many questions. So, you ready? Are you ready, guys? Okay. So, I'm going to go. Shall I start with this one?
Go for it.
Okay, so if you haven't heard, we have a new platform that we are using within the school. We're super nervous about it, but we're excited about it. The seniors are having fun with it, and it's called SCORE, even though the kids are calling it Squire. We're asking your child to create an account. It's an organizational tool for you. It's a lot of the other schools and the private schools have used a program called Naviance. This is a form of Naviance and a different platform, obviously. And actually, we've heard quite a few of the private schools are switching to SCORE because the intuitiveness to your child is really unbelievable. It's a college search tool for you and your child. It's a communication tool for us to talk to your students, your children. Next year, letters of recommendation will be a tool for the teachers and the counselor. We'll be sending transcripts through it. And the best part, this is the part I think is the coolest part, is that there is this interest survey in there. And all these years, we've always talked about how we need an interest survey that's effective. This survey will not only be a 2-hour survey in 20-minute sections, and there's no right or wrong answers. Your child gets analyzed, okay, about what their interest may be. It then will tell you what job fields they may be interested in. Then it goes to what majors schools have. If you do the geographic and the financial section of this whole entire platform, it will then recommend colleges, give you their SAT average, ACT scores, the acceptance rate. Next year, because we'll have the statistics from this year, we'll be able to give even a better predictor of how well your child will do in getting into these schools. So I'm super excited. And if you have younger children, it's going to have the historical data over the last 3 or 4 years. So if you have a freshman, it's going to have how well our children did over the past 4 years or 3 years. So we're super excited. The school system spent a lot of money in doing this, and it's a great way for the kids to keep track. It's a resume writer, keeps track of all their schools. It's also got a calendar when we have college visits. You can book it that way. I'm hoping by next year we're even able to do counselor appointments through it. We're treading water on it right now, but it's a great communication tool. So for instance, if you like a school, your child puts on there, they like a school, like I'm just picking because they came out today, Tulane came out today. So if there's something to tell about Tulane and your child has said they're interested in Tulane, then we will send you a message saying, geez, Tulane's coming on February 10th on an online presentation, and you'll be able to sign in, register, and go to it. So once your child has an account, you can then create an account too. And we're like, again, Linda and I and the counselors are just now getting used to it. It's been very effective on counseling kids once they tell us what they want, and then keeping track of how well they do. So have fun with it. Make sure your child joins. About half the junior classes have already joined. So we need the other half to get on. The goal obviously is to get 100% of the kids in there and looking at it and using it, even if it's just for the interest survey. So we're very, very excited. Okay, Linda?
So as a parent, if this is the first time that you're going through all this, it can be overwhelming. And so I've been shadowing Mr. Nurnberg for probably over 2 years now, and I'm still getting used to the new words. So if it's overwhelming, that's okay. So you're going to hear a lot of new words: early decision, early action, priority deadline, et cetera, state schools, out of state schools, private schools. So just know that it's coming, and it's okay if you hear these words and don't understand and need to ask 55 times, what's the difference between early action, early decision? I don't know. That's okay. So just prep for learning and not knowing. It's okay.
And in fact, in the next couple of weeks on SCORE, I'll put in a little dictionary that will have every word that you do not know about if this is your first child. And it will help you get along with it. There's not a lot of words. It's just confusing when you first start it. And
It is. When you first start, it's confusing.
Yeah,
I think.
and by the time your child is a senior graduating, they could be the teacher of this course. So, okay. So the next question is, where will your child want to be in 20 months? It's important that you make a list, the child makes a list on SCOREs. When I say you, by the way, through this entire presentation, I don't mean you, even though I know for some of you, it will be you. There goes that filter. But work with your child in developing a list of schools, put them on SCORE. I mean, right now you could put 25 schools that you're interested in and take virtual tours and do it. But in the end, what we always look at, 7 to 9 colleges if you're out of state, 3 to 5 for an in-state school. SCORE will tell you if it's a safe school, if it's a good fit, or if it's a reach. Actually, we know a lot of times how it's going to work. But the whole idea, we do have kids that apply to 25 schools, and we have some kids who apply to 2 schools. So it's a personal choice that you and your family will make. If you don't receive free lunch, applications could be very expensive. And if you do have to qualify for free lunch, applications are free for almost every school.
So to break down that list again, because of course this is new verbiage for so many of you, you want to have, let's say 3 or 4 just for now. And that again, there's no rule. A safe school, I always like this, Mr. Nurnberg says it. It's a safe school, it's a good fit for you. It's sort of easy. And you won't cry if you get in. So if that's where you have to go and that's where you get in, it's okay. And that's a different school for every student. A safe school is you are qualified, you can pay for it, it works for your family's dynamics, is it close? So that's a safe school. A fit school means you're a match for their mid-range GPA. You fit in there somewhere. You look at the average, and if your child's GPA and SAT, ACT are in there, then that's a fit. It doesn't mean you're getting in, but it means it's a good fit. And then a reach is a dream school. They accept less than 30% of the applicants. Maybe your kid currently doesn't have that GPA or SAT yet. It's a reach, but you have to try. Mr. Nurnberg always says, if you don't get declined by a couple of schools, then you didn't have a dream and a reach. So you just got to go for it. You never know. So that's the definition of that. So you should try to have 3, 4, whatever of those. This is you, Mr. Nurnberg.
I know, this is my favorite. We were talking about this, and I think I get away with this because of my age. They are out there, and they are like this attractive young lady or attractive young man enticing your children. They look so beautiful online. They entice your child. They mail them letters. They send them emails. In the past, and hopefully in the future for your children, they're going to invite them to come visit. They'll even offer to pay for the room sometimes for you to come visit. And they'll please and they'll beg you to, to check them out and look at them and maybe think about being with them. And in the end, they only let anywhere between 3 to 40% of you all to join. So it's so important that you and your children don't fall in love with one particular school. You have to have faith this system does work, and that where your child ends up is where they're meant to be. It's a really hard process to internalize that. But as a counselor, I think it's super important that they not fall in love. Because the reality is, no matter how great a school is, or how much your family has invested in it, or the legacy of it, your child's going to be happy when they're in a school, hopefully with a lot of kids and a lot of new friends and new teachers that are going to invigorate them. And as we said before, you have to have a safety school that your child, if that's the only school that accepts them, they'll go and they'll still have a good time. We have a very low rate of actual kids who drop out of a school and transfer schools. I mean, there are a significant number, and this year I think probably be a little bit more, but in general, our kids stay where they are. And nationally, the average is very, very low when you look at the kids doing this.
This was a big list. I'm from Connecticut, so I moved here 10 years ago. I had no idea how many public universities there were. And this is another word or phrase that you're going to hear, the SUS, S-U-S, the SUS. It took me 2 years of shadowing Mr. Nurnberg to really understand that meant the state university system. So all of these schools, and we've organized them, I think it's in order from closest to farthest away. And the University of West Florida is in another time zone. Like if your child can get bright futures, or you have Florida prepaid, but they want to get away from home, they could go to University of West Florida, and there's no way you're popping in for a visit. There's just no way, unless you're really dedicated to visiting your kids. So there's so many more options than I knew existed.
So we want to go through some of them. It's up to you. But obviously, you want to have a fun, safe venture. Go out on a Sunday morning and go take a bike ride at FIU. Ride around the campus and take a look at it. Get the feel of what a college campus looks like. If you haven't been there, it's changed tremendously. It's an unbelievable campus. I'm going to go through these real quick just because I think we're very lucky to have this. For this reason alone, we are lucky to have so many great schools. Florida Atlantic and Boca Raton, 60 miles away, far enough that your child can be away from home and still be able to get home. Florida Gulf Coast over in Fort Myers is an unbelievably smaller size school that our kids are very successful at. New College is the one you may not know about. It's a liberal arts college in Sarasota. They don't give grades. They have mentors for everyone. Everyone is research-based. They have a very high success rate of kids going to graduate school. It's a little funky. It's very small. It's about 800, 900 kids. And the kids that we have go there, 3 or 4 every year, usually stay there. Florida Polytech is the newest of the schools. It's a STEM-based school. It's also very small, no books, library walk-in, it's all computers. It's a little bit more, when I was there, I really sort of laughed because it is very much the STEM nerdy kind of kid. They're all walking around with lightsabers from Star Wars. They have a lot of fun, but they've become accredited, and it's an unbelievably great program. UCF, pretty much everybody knows about. It's one of the largest schools in Orlando. South Florida is in Tampa and St. Petersburg, and they've got different campuses with different majors. University of Florida, I don't have to say anything about them. University of North Florida is in Jacksonville. It's set in the suburban area. It's also smaller size, beautiful campus in the suburbs of Jacksonville. FSU and FAMU in Tallahassee, 2 of my favorite schools. Florida State, it's far, it's a nice little hike. The great majors, I don't know if you know this, Florida State was once an all-women's school, and after World War II, they had to start admitting men. So I think because of that, it's got this nurturing side to it. So it's sort of like FAMU is a historical Black university. Great program for all different kinds of kids. And once again, our kids that go there just do very well. And my favorite one to tell the kids is the University of West Florida for your child who wants to get away from home, really wants to leave the state, and financially this is still a state school. It's still in another time zone. It's in the central time zone. So it really is a far ride. In fact, I was just talking to one of my neighbors. They were driving up. It's a 12-hour ride. So if your kid really wants to get away from home, not you, of course, and you want to pay state tuition or use your Bright Futures, this school is also smaller size, has a football team, a lot of spirit, and these are our state schools. And this is, and when we put this up on the recording, you can get this on the web. This is an SUS matrix. This has everything about the class of 2020, the acceptance rates, the average SAT scores, how waivers are accepted, the average GPA, how grades are reported, all the deadlines for this year's class. There'll be a new one for you all put out in the beginning of the school year. I imagine the SAT scores will be a little bit different next year, as it has become an issue, which I've seen in the chat, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But this is a great program. And if you just SUS Matrix 2020, you'll get the whole brochure, but this is the center one.
Every time I look at that, though, I need to put on my reading glasses because the words are so small. But you know,
Bigger. This is actually the biggest version you'll ever see of it.
I know I can actually see it, but I love this slide. It's super helpful.
It's great to be used as a way. So you don't take a picture of it. And again, this PowerPoint we'll put on all the different platforms that we can put it on, so you can watch Linda and I embarrass ourselves. Okay. And I think Lisa will be a little embarrassed when she watches her video too. So, okay, Linda.
Miami-Dade is awesome. It's our local community college. It's a wonderful, wonderful school. And especially these days with how crazy the world is, if you're just not ready, it's a wonderful school if it's your first choice. And it's a wonderful school if it's just not a time for your child to go away for an assortment of different reasons. It's right here. You can get the first 2 years done and have that be it, or you can go to FIU or another school. I think Miami-Dade Honors is just a secret gem, a hidden gem. If you get a 3.0 and then a certain score on the SAT and ACT, or a 3.5, you don't have to take the SAT, ACT, and it's free. So what a great deal. I think if you ask around, everyone seems to know someone that did MDC honors, and they actually made money. They got book money, and they came out of the first 2 years of college having earned money.
And the goal of Miami-Dade Honors is to get you to go out of state after 2 years. It's a very rigid curriculum, very protective to the kids. There's a campus downtown at Wolfson, and there's a campus at Kendall. There's also one in North Miami. It is not easy. I will tell you, it is not easy.
Did I mess up the numbers? Did I say honors or dream?
There's also an interview and a letter of recommendation needed for the honors program. But the neat part about Miami-Dade is, and this is why so many of our kids go, is that if you have a 3.0 weighted GPA and you fill out the financial aid form called the FAFSA, which is probably a new word for some of you, Miami-Dade is tuition free. That's the normal school and the honors college. And the Miami-Dade Honors College, totally free. They even give you the Metro Rail pass if you go to the Wolfson campus. So it's just homebound. We just did last 2 days, we spent 2 days with the Miami-Dade representatives doing online registration. We had over 200 kids apply. Some of them aren't going there, and some of them will be. But it's like Linda said, it's a fallback, and it's also a great place to start off. And the neatest part, I just heard, they just announced their new president of the college. She's a Miami-Dade graduate. I mean, that's like really, and a lot of people, politicians in our area, I don't know if that's a good thing to say, but some politicians in our area, some of our community leaders are Miami-Dade College graduates. So it's, once again, super program. So this is your slide, Linda. You made it.
I did. Now that I have my list, now what? I always find these things so overwhelming. So great, I have my list. Now what? Okay, so the college visits. I thought this, I didn't know this when I first started out, that so many colleges, well, pre-COVID, colleges would come to Palmetto and visit our kids. And I didn't know this, but the college reps that come are first readers. I don't know how many of you know this. So not always, but very, very often, they're the first readers. So when your baby applies to Tulane, for example, The person that has come to Palmetto and sat in our room and spoken to your babies are the first ones that look at their application. So I think that's a tremendous opportunity that I want everyone to make sure that we have. So if you have a problem with your application, we will contact those reps. They represent South Florida and they will get to know your children. And so if your children come, and this year it was all virtual, and that was okay. It worked really, really well. It was convenient. I personally like the in-person thing, but we got to visit. We got so many more visits from so many more schools because they were able to really multitask and get it done. So that was great. I don't know what's going to happen next year. I don't think anyone knows yet. I don't know if we'll be back to virtual or if maybe the colleges will like, I'm not sure if they'll be in person or maybe the colleges will like doing it virtually. I think it's cheaper for them. I don't know. But definitely now that you have your list, encourage your children to get on the computer, look at SCORE, visit the colleges. There are so many ways to see schools because they really had to bump it up and make sure that we could see their schools. The tours are incredible. So really, really do the time. And we can save money too, because pre-COVID, a lot of people would go to the school, physically fly to the school and go see it. But you don't have to do that anymore. So I think even for my son's a senior and we had planned to go visit schools, but we didn't get to. So we checked everything out on the computer and our plan is to, when he gets into schools, then go see the colleges and put the money into going. But so we'll see what the future brings, but definitely there are a lot of virtual opportunities to get to know your schools.
And I know coming up in February, there's going to be a big college fair like there always is, and they're going to do it virtual. And most of the things this spring will still be virtual. I have to tell you a very interesting story. Linda doesn't know the end of the story, but one of the kids came in and he messed up his application. And he was so upset. He was applying early decision somewhere. So I wrote to the representative who did the visit. This is a very prestigious school, by the way. And, you know, it wasn't a big mess up. It was a little mess up. And he was so upset when he walked in the room. I can't wait to tell him this. And so I was talking to the representative who is our first reader for that school. And she was saying, oh, tell him not to worry. It's no problem. And she goes, she says, was this the guy? And she described him. They asked a particular question. These college reps have these memories that are sick. And she remembered him from the visit. And this was virtual, okay? And we had like 20 kids in the room. But when they ask questions to these representatives, they remember these things. So it's like, we're very lucky. And Linda's right. We have almost all of our visits are first readers, or at least the regional representative for our school. They are the ones who look at your child's applications first, especially when we're talking about out-of-state schools more than, you know, the in-state ones.
And they do advocate for their students. They read the applications, and if they like it, they push for it. They push to get their kids. So it's helpful for your kids to come to these visits.
So this is super important stuff that you should be aware of. And by the way, I saw it on the chat pop. I'm trying to read the chat, enter people, and not touch my mouse so the slide doesn't move. But the last grades we're going to do this program similar for your children over the next 4 or 5 weeks. We're going to pop in Zoom. We already scheduled 6 of the classes, and hopefully by Christmas break, we'll have seen every junior, giving them a version of this tailored to their needs. So what they should know is so important is when they apply to college applications open up in July for some schools, mostly in the middle of August. The thing that they see grade-wise is only up to the end of junior year or the end of summer if they take a dual enrollment class or a virtual class in the summer. They don't, and they see what they're taking next year. They don't see any grades. University of Florida does not look at your child's grades in order to accept them. They don't look at your child's grades until they've been accepted, paid their deposit, and sent their final transcript in. Okay? If they have a
I think that's crazy. I think it's crazy that you apply with your 9th, 10th, and 11th grade grades. It just, as a parent, it blows me away that senior grades do matter after the fact. Don't blow it.
And some of the Ivies and the more, I hate using the word prestigious schools, more competitive schools, they do look at the mid-year grades and they make sure that what they say they were taking, they stay in it. but it really is. Florida and most of our state schools will just go and accept your child just by how they do. What does that say to us all? Junior year is like super important. And the fact that your children are doing it virtually or hybrid right now makes it a little bit more difficult. But just remember, as I've said over this last couple of years, every problem that you and your child are having in this process is not a me thing or an I thing, it's a we thing. This is a national issue, okay? It is affecting all of us, not just you, but when you say, my child didn't get in the SAT, or my child couldn't get to visit that place or take that tour, that's not your child, that's everybody's child right now. And the
Global problem, globe, the entire earth.
colleges know this, okay? And they are adapting, and they're adapting very hugely. So go ahead, I'm sorry, I took over your slide.
No, you're doing great. No, I
Okay.
think you started actually, but for senior, when right now, as a junior parent, you want your babies to get the best grades possible. And when they're setting up their schedule for senior year, if they can handle it, encourage them to increase the rigor. Don't put them over the edge, but encourage them if they can handle it to increase their rigor.
And again, we're going to be coming up on, I'm talking about this in a second, but course selections coming up. It's close. We're not far from your children are going to be choosing their senior courses soon. So just realize though, once again, most college deadlines will be January next year. Okay. And a lot of our kids, there's a big push. The colleges want your children to apply by November 1 for scholarships, merit scholarships. They want your child to show interest in the school now. And once again, if your child had a bad 9th grade year, or they got a C in a class, they freshman or sophomore year, as long as their junior year is okay and they do well. And when I do well, say well, I mean a rigorous schedule with A's and B's, okay? The reality is colleges don't want perfect children, okay? Imagine a college full of perfect children. I wouldn't want to work there, okay? So
it doesn't exist.
so just want to make sure you know, and this is super important for your child to know.
Yeah. Oh, I'll take this one because it bothers me as a parent. It bothers me. Holistic. I want to know exactly what I need to do, or my child wants to know exactly what they need to get into school. And every time the college visits come, they say, we look at the holistic child. We look at the whole child. And that is not, I don't like it. It bothers me, but it's true. It's true. Mr. Nuremberg, explain it, but just
Okay,
as a parent, it bothers me.
So what they're looking, holistic is this. So there's schools that are black, and I'm looking bottom first. They look at your SAT, their GPA, they can make it, and if maybe they look at their activities, and basically, if you meet their criteria, you're going to get accepted, okay? We shouldn't say Penn State, doesn't mean Penn State's going to accept you if you have that, because Penn State's much more of a competitive school than we think it is. But basically, schools like FIU and University of South Florida, and most of our state schools do black and white. Holistic has a whole different atmosphere. And the most holistic school, and that's why people say it has a lottery, is University of Florida. They give you points for being involved. They give you points for being first generation. They get you points for single parent. They give you points for being legacy and having leadership and initiative. You get extra points for being low income and having talent, and your community service and your obstacles.
You know they're doing gaming scholarships? Yeah, I think I'm doing a competitive gaming league.
You put on mute, please.
Yeah, I muted him.
Thank you. So that's why sometimes with the University of Florida, you will hear, oh my God, this child with this SAT and GPA didn't get in, and this other child with a lower did get in. Well, the holistic section has an approach. And the University of Florida, as crazy as it seems, has a very logical process in evaluating your child's progress. Is it fair for everybody? No, absolutely not. But they do use this criteria. In fact, they're going to have the easiest time in evaluating children this year because SATs are not always the most important thing. FSU uses a modified holistic. And obviously, the competitive schools throughout the country, this year especially for this senior class who are going so test optional, will be very holistic grading. And if you want to research it and look at it, how the schools are doing it, there's some great books on how colleges evaluate your child.
And it really is great, especially right now, because there's so much going on. So it is awesome that they take the whole child into consideration.
So want to make sure, Lisa said this a little bit earlier, and usually I would say, ask the question, you know, how many credits do you need a foreign language to graduate? The answer is no. Okay, you don't need it. In fact, certain schools don't even require it to get in. You can get into some schools. We had a child a couple of years ago, got it. I keep mentioning Tulane because it came up today, but they got into Tulane, they've gotten into Emory without the foreign language at all. So foreign language is not required to graduate, but it is required for our state schools. It is required for Bright Futures. And how many years are required? Some schools want your child to take 3 or 4 years of foreign language, especially schools outside our state of Florida, use it as criteria. Saw a child last year, didn't finish their Spanish 3 until the end of senior year, and they were on a wait list, and they forgot to put it on their schedule that they had done it because they were doing it on virtual school. And the minute we told them she completed it, she got in. And we're talking about a prestigious school. So it's really important that they take as many years as they can take with still staying sane. And again, Miami-Dade College, no requirement. University of Florida, at least 2 years, along with a competitive schedule. And our really competitive schools, I'm talking about the schools with the 10% acceptance rates, would like you to take as many as possible. But they want you to do everything. I mean, you know, they want you to part the waters. So that was a little joke.
And there are very few schools that don't accept middle school foreign language classes. And when I sat in those meetings last year, it kept blowing my mind and I kept raising my hand. I'm sorry, here in Pinecrest, we do them in middle school. And they said, yeah, sorry. They said, I'm sorry if you really speak a language, you didn't take it in 6th grade. So, but it's very, very few schools. But if just look into your schools.
Okay. You want me to keep going or you got this one?
Community service. Okay. So if we were in a room full of kids, we would say, how many community service hours do you need to graduate? And the answer is 1. To walk across the stage, you need 1 hour. But if you want to go to a highly selective school, you need a lot of hours. For Bright Futures, you need either 75 or 100 hours, depending on what you're shooting for. So, and then again with community service, except for the numbers like Bright Futures and things, when you have certain numbers to hit, it is quality versus quantity. If your mom gives 100 cans for Thanksgiving every year, you know, that's good, but it's the quality of the service they're really looking at too.
It's not about hours. It really is not, because you can do something in 5 hours that has a huge impact. If you decide you're going to do a fundraiser and you come together with an idea and it takes you 10 hours to do it and it has a big impact, that's about what they're looking at. What did you do? What did your child do? Not you. What did your child do to make an impact on your school or your community? And they evaluate that a lot. I'm happy to look at the chat. In the community service, once your child joins SCORE, inside their file drive in SCORE is a community service form that you turn into your counselor. Just remember, what's on our transcript does not have to reflect what's on the application. It's a requirement to do a community service project, but it's more about what your child has done. And so the form is there. It's not a hard form to fill out. Once you have 100 hours, I say turn it in, but document somewhere on SCORE, on a thing we're going to talk about called raise.me. There's another way, put everything your child does in a sock drawer. Just keep an organization organized about what your child does. You're not going to remember what they did especially after this last year, you're not going to remember what they did pre-COVID, because our memories are going to be a little bit blank about pre-COVID.
And if you have any questions, if your child is having trouble coming up with something to do, just have them contact me or Mr. Nuremberg. We can definitely help them get creative and figure out something to do.
Or their counselor, or their rabbi, or their priest, or a friend. There's a lot of things out there. The only thing is, for college purposes, it's got to be for college purposes, it's got to be something that is going to show a positive thing about them. For high school graduation, we'll take almost anything that goes for a nonprofit organization. So again, your counselors have all the answers to these questions about that. And they can turn it in right now if they want, and the form is in SCORE. Okay, I'm going to do this one if it's okay.
Of course.
This one's important. I know when I was an academic counselor and I had kids come to me and ask me, what are they going to, what courses they're going to take? My first question would be, what is your dream school? Especially going into senior year, because the course selection they take senior year is what the colleges are going to look at as criteria on whether your child can handle a challenge. And I'm talking about whichever school we're talking about, it doesn't matter whether it's Miami-Dade or Princeton or Harvard. You've got to, they all going to want a math. They're all going to want certain things. But if your child is looking to go to a prestigious school, the senior course selection is huge. And you make sure you put things that your child really wants. And maybe this is the one time you want to check. Not only are you looking to make sure they get the courses they need to graduate, but you want to make sure it matches their choice of schools. And it's hard right now it's difficult right now to say, oh my God, where's my child going to go to school? But senior course selection is going to be coming up February, March. They're going to meet with their counselors somehow, virtually probably, and they're going to sit and they're going to choose the classes they want. So research what classes the schools that you like require and make sure you plan senior year schedule accordingly. Hard enough to make it look good and enough where they're still a human being, because remember, they are going to have college applications, financial aid, scholarships, and along with their course rigor. So it's a tough year, and your child's ready for it. I will tell you, they're prepared. Okay, testing. Many private schools are test optional, but the Florida state schools, as of today, are still requiring a test. This is not in the control of the state colleges. We have a thing called the BOG. It's called the Board of Governors. It's a government-sponsored group of people, and they have made the decision to make Florida unique. In many ways, we are unique, but we are the only state college that is still requiring a test score. I'm going to have another slide in a second about what are the differences. So as of today, all students have to take a test. From what I'm hearing from the colleges, though, the test is becoming less important. So I think personally, and this is just my own opinion, and this is just from watching, I think if you look at the schools who went test optional years ago, they are using the test less and less.
Not sorry.
So I think everybody forgive Linda, you can let the dog bark. So we just suggest that at this point, this is my own suggestion about the SAT, ACT right now. If your child hasn't registered yet, I would wait this out, because the seniors are being allowed to test through December and January. I don't think I'd want my child testing with a bunch of kids that are doing it for the last time, or maybe even the first time, with a little bit of desperation. The more kids that test, the bigger the curve. Hopefully we'll have a handle this on March. I do know that a lot of schools nationally are canceling the December test. And the seniors have to have a December test for the state of Florida schools if they haven't taken one yet. There are kids that have been canceled straight through all the way. So I don't know what's happening with the other schools in the county. As of last I heard, we were still offering the test in December. But for your children, I know some of them have been studying and preparing for it. We're going to give the PSAT in January. So nationally they are. 11th graders have the choice of taking it or not taking it. The choice of taking it is basically as a practice test. And if your child's a very high level kid, they could be looking to try and get national merit scholarship, which is the top 2% in the country of all the children. And there's national Hispanic and a national board scholarship that is for minorities, Hispanic and Black. So we suggested, my suggestion, this is Harry Nierenberg, not anybody else, it's just take the January PSAT, maybe look for the March test, then let's go for the June test. If you're still not happy, we have a whole summer to work on whatever we need. And once again, the colleges are becoming very flexible. A lot of them, when they went test optional, made it a 2-year plan. And right now I'm talking out of the state of Florida. The board of directors, the director of admissions are not very confident in the board of governors to make a change. There's some legislation in the way, there's Bright Futures in the way. If you really have a problem with it, I personally have written 3 letters There are some form letters out there around Facebook I've seen, but talk to your legislator. If you know your local people, talk to your politicians and get it. Khan Academy is an unbelievably great free SAT tutor. Once your child has a PSAT from 10th grade that we took last year, Khan Academy analyzes your child's score and works on their weaknesses. So they're able to actually just work on what they didn't know in 10th grade. When it first came out, I couldn't believe it would work, but I'm looking at the statistics, and the statistics are showing major improvements of over 100, 150 points for kids who work on it 20 minutes a day, or not hours at a time, but make it part of their daily regime. Make it that 7th period. So if your child is thinking of going to school where the SAT is important, have them get on Khan Academy. Make sure it's part of the regimen. Just like you're practicing for a marathon, next in March, they need in mental shape. So Khan Academy does that. ACT has their version, and we didn't write it down here, and I draw a mental block all the time on what it's a simple name, and I can't remember it. We didn't put it down here. So ACT also has their own. The difference between the
it's called ACT.net or something. It's
yeah,
not
really something ridiculous. And I'm sorry, Linda, go ahead.
No, it's just on the website. For SAT, it's on the College Board, but the ACT is on ACT.whatever, and the test is called ACT.what. It's
so simple. That's why I don't remember. The one last thing I was going to say, the difference between the SAT and the ACT. The SAT, I know if you were a college graduate, the SAT back when you took it was a mind screwed with your mind. Every answer looked right. That has changed a lot. It is much more black and white. There are still some trickery to it. There are two sections, the reading side and the math side. There is a writing test. Most colleges do not require the writing test, but please choose your schools. Make sure you know what's required by the schools. ACT has 4 sections plus the writing, English and reading and science and math. All schools pretty much super score both of them, which means they take their highest scores, and either score works. ACT tends to be very black and white and goes really fast, and SAT is much more deliberate test and gives your time. It's more of a think test. So if you really want to try, go take a practice test, I guess, to see what the children are up to. So, and we'll keep going. Again, I'm going to go, this one is probably the most sensitive issue nationally all over the place. So there are 4 things going to 3 types of tests. There's schools that are test required, such as our state schools. There is the word test optional, which means they will look at the test if you offer them a test, and they will not penalize you if you do not choose to show a test. They will only look at your grades, the rigor, and your service. Then there are test blind schools, which don't want to see a test at all. That's very, very few, but they are out there. And some of the schools, like I said before, that were test optional for the last 4 or 5 years are now becoming test blind. NYU is a perfect example. They will take 3 AP tests instead of the SAT or the ACT. So what does the future hold in this? Personally, I think we're going, unless SAT and ACT make some changes, I think we're going to be looking at the colleges looking at the holistic person more than anything else. And SAT and ACT will not be as held important. I could be wrong, and we could see things change. But College Board and ACT are still very essential in your child's application process. You want this one?
Just be on the lookout. If you want your child to take the PSAT, just be on the lookout. I'm sure the PTA will advertise it, but with things get a little bit busy in December, so just don't miss it.
Right, and it does for juniors. It does cost. If you have a sophomore child, it is free. If you have a freshman child, it does cost. But once again,
sorry, they were just telling me today that they're not sure if they're going to be able to offer it to freshmen because of social distancing. So that's to be determined.
Right. Everything we say today is to be determined. So
yeah, facts, true.
Okay, and then the subject test. You're up.
This is, you need to look at your colleges because many schools take them if you do them, but they don't require it, but some do. Some like Georgetown strongly recommend, so.
It's an important word. So that used to be required and now they've changed this. And a lot of schools where your child's going engineering or anything in the math or science, and they do want them to take a calculus SAT subject test. But our state schools do not require it. And many of the schools do not require it at all and don't want it. They don't want to even look at it.
So the College Board, many of you are probably familiar with this. This is where your children have signed up to take their AP tests. This is where they will sign up to take the SAT tests. There's another college search, just like SCORE. That's okay. It's called Big Future. Before SCORE, we would tell everyone to use Big Future. It was a way to search colleges. If you want to use that, that's fine. There's a couple scholarships there, and that's where you'll find Khan Academy.
And also there's this great, I think we have this in late, if we repeat ourselves, it's not because, well, sometimes it's because of my senility, but many times it's so important that we want you to hear it twice. And Khan Academy is one of those things we want to hear it twice. And last year they put this great thing is, if you actually document your Khan Academy work on College Board's website, you go into a lottery scholarship. Last year, 2 of our kids won $1,000. 2 kids won $500. A kid from Reef got $5,000. And it's based on you getting almost like getting tickets every time you study, and they draw the lottery out of it. And so it's a great little incentive to get the kids to work. Okay.
So there's a lot of confusion about how to apply, and we'll cover this again in the spring. I know we're giving you a lot of information, but you apply to schools on these 3 things: a common app, which is, this is how I explain it to the children. Back in the day, when I wanted to apply to different schools, I would get out the application with paper and pencil and fill out my name and my address and my social security number and do all the essays, put it in, fold it up, put it in an envelope and send it to Florida State. And then if I wanted to do UF, I would do that all over again. So now with the computer, there's a common app, a common application. So you write your name, your address, your parents' information all the time, just once. And then you add your schools onto it and you do supplemental stuff per school. So that's the common app. The coalition is similar, or you can apply directly onto the college's website. So that's what that is. And then SCORE is supplemental and helps, but you don't apply on SCORE. You apply on these 3 things. But again, we'll cover this again in the spring because I know we're throwing a lot of information at you.
We are planning on doing this, having a review in the spring because we're presuming there's going to be a lot more changes as we go through the year and seeing what happens. So we will probably do not a repeat of this, but more like maybe a Q&A kind of thing where you guys can all get together and we can all just sit and talk about it. And we'll go from there. But be aware that, you know, the Common App and Coalition are both also teaching tools. Common App, if you want to really be, if you're totally bored and tired of Netflix, Common App has about, I think, 2,000 videos to watch about the application process. There's blogs that they have a monthly blog. I wrote one a couple of years ago. They actually took one of my blogs. But just in general, it's a great teaching tool as well as an application tool. But it's something you want to use. Coalition is based with a smaller group of schools that decided they wanted to do it a bit different. But these are just some of the different ways we apply to school. Okay, so I'm going to do this one too because I like this. This is one. If your child has it really is important they have a professional email. You know, the SpongeBob emails are really not that good. One of the kids sent me an email yesterday with no name, and his email was zzzzzzz@gmail. And then he came on to my Zoom meeting, and I wouldn't accept him because I didn't know what it was. So we had to talk about it. It's important that they have a professional style email, their name at Gmail or Yahoo. It's super important that we take a step back in time for the kids' sakes. And they've got to come back to our technology. The colleges use emails. They don't TikTok. They don't use YouTube. They don't use YouTube for other things, but they are using emails as indicators. Every year, somebody misses out on a scholarship because they didn't read their email. get your kids, look at your child. This is one of those things where I say you can look at their social media because they don't care about their email. But if they've got an email, I don't know about you all, but if they've got 500, 1,000, they brag about how many emails they have in their box not read. They're going to miss stuff. So go get them, and I make the joke with them, all the coupons are not valid anymore. They don't even know where the delete button is. Please make sure you go in there and have them clean up their email and have an email specifically for the colleges. Make it be the same one they're using for SCORE and make it be the same one they're using for Common App. And hopefully it'll be the one they use for College Board. But they do have to take a step back in time because, before there was a way that they can avoid the communication part, but not anymore. Email is super important. Okay, go Linda.
To do. So this one to the right is blocked for me because of the participants, but this is what they need to do now as juniors. Maintain good grades, fine. Be active in school, which is a little challenging and out, but they can do online clubs. All that stuff helps. Take the SAT, ACT, SAT if you want. We just discussed you don't necessarily have to do that. What's the next one? I can't see it.
Complete community service.
Complete community service. And again, I know sometimes it's challenging. You don't know what to do, but there are so many things that can be done right now. So if your child is rocking and rolling on that, keep going. And if they're kind of stuck, reach out to someone and get that started. They have to go on to SCORE. That's going to be really important for their class. This senior year, we're learning, but next year we're going to be experts. So we're all going to be using SCORE all the time. So create that college list, attend virtual info sessions on SCORE. And if you don't know how to do that and your child doesn't know how to do that, again, reach out and we'll walk you through it because it's important that you understand. They need a senior profile. Some of the classes have been working on this since freshman year, sophomore year. And essentially that's just a lot of information about what they've done through high school and they just need to update it. For some teachers, it's a grade. But essentially at the senior level, when they become seniors, if they want someone to write a letter of recommendation for them, the teacher will say, give me your senior profile. So it just saves them time if it's updated each year. So you don't have to go back and go, what did I do freshman year, summer? I can't remember. And then from that senior profile, they will turn into a resume. Many colleges require a resume. And then next summer, no matter what our world looks like, I don't know what it's going to be, but they have to do something juicy. So whether it's a class or a service, I don't know if you can travel, but be proactive now and start thinking about what you can do. We're going to have to be flexible because I don't know what that means, but make sure they don't play video games all next summer because they have to report what they did.
And actually, I just started. I posted the first one on SCORE to the kids. And if you're a parent, I included you. University of Miami just posted their summer programs. University of Tennessee just posted their summer programs. They're moving forward. Some are saying they're going to try and do it personally, but most of them are doing it virtually. Understand that the summer programs are starting. Later in the beginning of the new year, I will put out a list. The college counselors throughout Miami-Dade put together a list of summer programs that are available for your children. And whether or not it's going to be online or not, I'm not 100% sure. There was something I was going to say when you were talking. Oh, about the fair, I think I said already. Oh, very important feature. You do not need, if you bought, let's say you did prepay, and you have that all set up for your child to go to a school in the state of Florida, and there's a 95% chance they're going to stay in Florida. They do not need a letter of recommendation with the exception of New College and FAMU. Florida does not want a letter. Florida State does not want a letter. FIU does not want a letter. They do not, they frown on you sending them. So if you know your child's staying because you did our prepay program, then they do not need to go out there and hunt down a letter unless they need it for a scholarship or something like that. So you can sort of breathe easy on that one. And, but that'll bring up another conversation. I think we forgot the slide on, but we'll see where
it's coming. I did also want to say for next summer, working is juicy, working is good. And if you need your teenager to babysit their siblings at home, that's good too. Everything is good as long as it's proactive. They just don't want to see, yeah, I did nothing. I played video games all summer. But whatever you need to do to be proactive citizens, it counts.
And don't always forget, if there is nothing to do, and let's say we are in the same kind of situation, dual enrollment was huge this year. If your child has a 3.0 unweighted, they can take classes at Miami-Dade during the summer up to 2. They can, it's most of the classes are counted as bonus points, like an AP class. There's a variety, there's 15 pages of classes they can take. We had almost 225 kids take classes at Miami-Dade and FIU this last summer. They are the 2 approved schools for dual enrollment. So they can either progress and, like accelerate in a math or a science, or they can take a class they think they want, if they want to be an architect. They can take an introduction to architecture and then decide they don't want to be an architect. If they want to be, an accountant, they can take an introduction to accounting. There's classes they can take that will transfer to them at the University of Florida or Florida State or FIU. So just want to make sure you know that that's always the backup, and they can take a class on virtual school too. Okay, what's happening this spring?
Yeah. Spring junior year, this is coming up, and just, you don't have to memorize this, but we're just putting it out. And if it sounds like something you might want your child to be interested in, just put it in your brain. Posse, it's a scholarship we're going to bring to your students in this spring. And this is a scholarship, and it doesn't, hang on, I've let someone in.
I got it.
Go. All right. Sorry. It is need blind. It takes every kind of student from every background, and they just are looking for a personality. Essentially, they're trying to gather a group of kids or a posse to send to schools to support each other. And that's it. And it's really hard to think, well, I'm not going to apply because I don't think that my child might qualify. But we're telling you right now, all kids can qualify.
It is.
And it's a full scholarship, right?
It is
right?
It's full tuition, test blind, race blind, academic blind in some ways. I mean, you have to have some level of intelligence, obviously. They're not like, it doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what color you are. It does, for a lot of them, it doesn't matter your SAT scores. The schools are unique schools. They're all fantastically nationally ranked schools. It starts with Pomona out in California, Syracuse in upstate New York, Hamilton College, great liberal arts college in upstate New York, Mount Holyoke, an all-girls school in the Northeast, Franklin and Marshall, it's a liberal arts school with a strong STEM base in Lancaster, which is about an hour and 15 minutes outside Philadelphia and about an hour and 15 minutes south of New York City. And Syracuse in upstate New York, and Davidson. And this year, right now, we had 30 kids nominated. We had 22 kids move to the second round. And now we have 4 students going for the finals. And if they have a 50% chance of getting in to these schools that they finaled for. And if you have any interest at all, the process itself is so unique that if I had a child, even if I didn't do this program, I would have them do it. It is early decision if you move to the final round, which means you're bound if you go that round, and you have a 50% chance of getting it. So posse is like the super, one guy, I always use this word, super and unbelievable, but it really is. Questbridge is a scholarship for students who are high achieving and have low income. And there's a summer program they can apply for and a program in August. And we have 2 finalists right now going for that. And then Silver Knight, again, is a community service project and being strong in one academic area. And if you have any questions about that, talk to Mrs. Spivak. You can find any of our emails on the school website, or you can email Linda or I, and we'll refer you to Ms. Spivak. Sometimes that mouse moves it and sometimes it doesn't. You're up, Linda.
Scholarships, we will talk about money more in the future, of course, but for the record, you can start looking for scholarships right now. You can start applying right now. Never pay for a scholarship ever. Just don't do it. Some different places you can look are FastWeb and Big Future, and Raise.me is a great one. I immediately think of FIU. And if you just go through it and you put in your classes and your community service and your sports and all those other things, and you get money just for doing those things. And for all the schools that partner with Raise.me, it's easy money. So take a peek at that list. You'll be surprised that the schools on that list, and it's just money in the bank. It's definitely worth looking into. College Board, and then merit scholarships will come later.
Oh, went the wrong way, huh?
Right, we're almost done, you guys. I know we're going long, but we're almost done. Bright Futures is huge. I know a lot of you are banking on it. We will talk about that more next year with your seniors. But as it stands right now, subject to change, it's not under our control. Mr.
I
Nerm,
know, I'm trying.
I know.
Go ahead.
Okay, as of today, this moment, for current seniors, it's a 3.5 GPA or a 29 ACT or a 1330 SAT. And then that's how, and 100 community service hours, or a 3.5. Oh, I put GAP. That was my bad. 3.0 GPA, 25 ACT, or a 1210 with 75 community service hours. So that's as it stands today. Just use it as a guide. We'll see what life brings us next year.
One thing we left off on this, the GPA is not our GPA. The GPA is listed for the core classes they're taking. So certain electives don't count. And they weighted half to make it equitable in the state. So an AP class, which is 2 extra points at Palmetto in Miami, it's only worth 1 point for Bright Futures at state universities. And if it's a honors class, it's a half a point. I know it's confusing, but
It melts my mind every time you say it. But I trust you.
yeah, but it's the way they calculate the GPA and our state universities calculate the GPA. So we'll have more information about this that we'll explain to the kids. And we're just doing that now with our seniors right now. So it's really just something we want you to keep in the back of your mind.
Honors programs, again, this is for next year, but just remember that many schools have honors programs. They're really great programs. They offer a lot of wonderful bonuses. You have better, you have an advisor, you get first pick to classes, which is huge, especially at the big universities. So just put that in your brain. If you have a child that's going to a school and they offer an honors program, just make a point to take a peek and consider applying, but we won't talk about it too much right now because that's for next year.
So everybody wants to know where they're ranked in the class and where where your child stands. This is all Dade County Public Schools, so it's not, Palmetto issue. Class percentiles are announced in September and then again in January. The first date is for the college application. The second date is for for graduation and where they are in their class. We don't rank individually, we rank by percentile. And that's just what it is, and that's what it is. If somebody asks you where your child is in the class now, you can talk to your counselor and they'll give you a roundabout figure, but they'll just be guessing. So the school system doesn't even allow us to rank them until we reach that point. Oh, I moved ahead on that one when I talked about it before, about recommendations. So I'll keep going. So the recommendations are only for certain schools. Usually they want the counselor to write a letter, an objective letter, and we use the profile, and 2 teachers. Florida state schools don't want one, out of state do. If you need a recommendation, then this is a tough year. Your child has to develop a relationship with the teacher. Teacher needs to write about anecdotal stories about your child and their interactions. And if your child's doing MSO, it's going to be some very interesting letters about how your child's learning horizontally. So it is important that your student meets with the teacher maybe once in a while, especially if they're doing really well. And if they need a letter of recommendation, to maybe meet with them after school or to go in, maybe talk during lunchtime, just to develop that relationship. They like junior teachers to write letters, but they are much more flexible than previous years. But they do want a junior or senior teacher giving the letters of recommendation, because that's who they're looking at, is the 16-year-old and the 17-year-old, not the 14-year-old.
But do make that a priority if you think that you're going to go to a school that needs a a letter of recommendation, as we've been saying, really go out of your way to really try to create a relationship with the teacher now, whether if it's your club sponsor or like previously stated, it's maybe ask a teacher to meet with you at lunch or stay after on the Zoom, or, hey, you know what, is there anything I can help you with? Is there a project I can take over? Just try to get their attention. Just try to create a relationship. I know it's tough. It's a tough year.
Should I do this one?
Sure.
You want to do it? So you.
This is also for next year or over the summer. I know that as a parent, I was advised to have my children work on their essay. For most colleges, for the Common App, you need one big essay. It's really hard to do. And I have a senior and a child in college, and both of them resisted me. Neither of them worked on the essay over the summer, even though I begged them to, because that's what I was told they were supposed to do. But the essay, just give it some time, think about it. If something happens in their life, suggest that they jot it down, take notes, a funny story, something that really is a learning experience. If they're going through something, encourage them to jot down their notes. So when it's time to write the essay next year, they'll have something to go off to remind them, because I think these days are just blurring together.
And if I could just talk about the obstacle part, if your child has an obstacle that they want to write about, and it's a serious situation they want to explain, and not like a pity story, but I'm talking about where they overcome an obstacle and it made them stronger. It's better that they write it when there's not the pressure on them. Don't wait till it's application time for them to sit with someone and help them write an essay about what they had to overcome. Or even, again, if they don't have something to overcome, to come up with ideas. And like Linda just said, something happens unique, or an epiphany, or a story that happens to them. Have them journal it. Have them write it down, okay? Or you write it down so that they remember it, and so you're able to tell it. Because you don't want to be able to embellish it, and you don't want it to be, you don't want them to go to therapy after writing an essay. So it's important that they do this. I mentioned this before. If you qualify for free lunch, you also qualify for SAT waivers if you can get into a test, and also again for application waivers. And we'll talk about this again in the spring. Do you mind if I keep going?
Go.
Okay, so financial aid, we'll have a financial aid workshop in the fall. In fact, if you really are really hungry to watch a financial aid workshop, you can go to my YouTube channel under my name and watch this last year's. Mostly financial aid doesn't change much, but it's never too early to start applying for scholarships and looking at that. Did we ever put a slide about the money, Linda?
I don't know, maybe the next time.
I want to talk about that then here.
Yeah.
Guys, it's super important that you have this discussion. Let's see what the next slide says before I say it. Okay, great. So that's a good time.
This is like the most important slide.
Yeah,
So pay attention. If you're falling asleep, wake up.
This is as important. I can ask a child what you do, and I could, I'm not going to embarrass Gina, but I'm looking at her in the face. But if I really asked Sophia what kind of law does her mother practice, don't know if she could answer that. And if you're a doctor, obviously, or a nurse, they sometimes don't know what you're doing. And heaven help it if you're called a consultant. They don't know what you're doing. They don't know how much money you make. They don't know how much your property taxes are. They don't know how much your windstorm insurance is. They don't know a lot. And they're now at that age where if you're gonna want them to apply to a competitive school, then you must have an honest conversation about the financial end of it. And the question, if you ever come into my office, the first question I will ask you is, if your child gets into a school like Georgetown, and it's $60,000 a year, especially if you're a middle-class parent, and you can get into Florida State, and it's going to be free, where's your child going? I think that needs to be talked to about your child. I think it's important they know how much money you make. I mean, that's easy for me to say. I don't have a child to say that to, but I mean, I think it's super important. There's some honesty in this situation. And if they ask you, Mom, Dad, can we afford for me to go to Harvard? And Harvard and the Ivy Leagues are based totally on your financial status. The Ivy Leagues don't look at anything else but your financial status. There are no scholarships. So it's important they know how much money you are willing to spend for their college. You don't say to, I mean, this is me being very strong. It's not healthy to say, we'll get in and we'll talk about it.
That's
Because
painful for them.
it gives them the hope. Be very honest about this conversation. This is I don't know if you're sitting at the dinner table still with them and eating, but this is a dinner table discussion where you don't put off the fact that you may not be able to afford $35,000 a year for college when you have that option of being at a state school for a very low cost. So, if it's an uncomfortable situation, it's just one that I would highly suggest that you have with your child, not after they've been accepted to the school. You've been taken a tour, you go see the school. Now they're truly in love with the school. They've been accepted, and you have to pull the rug out from under them and say, guys, we can't afford it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pop in. I just think knowledge is power. As you have that list while you're discussing it, before they even apply. Okay, baby, this school we can pay for. If you get in here, if you get into this school, we can offer this much. And if you get into this school, we can't help you. We can give you $5,000 a year or something, or maybe, but if you give them the information so that they know when they come into us and say, I'm going to try for that. I can't afford it, but if I get in, maybe I can get scholarship. It just helps with the whole process of helping them.
So, we'll discuss this later on. And, sorry. I gave out the whole thing.
We're almost done.
We are here to help you. I want to tell you something. We have an amazing guidance staff, and our guidance staff at Palmetto has increased tremendously. Not only do we have a new counselor replacing Miss Barrios, who's experienced and charming and nice guy, Mr. Sanchez, Miss Concepcion, Miss King, Miss Mallard, Miss Pinero are skilled counselors, have been in high school many, many years. Just so you be aware, we have a trust counselor who is there for children that have crisis, or a child that needs maybe a little bit of counseling on a weekly basis, both virtual and home. You're much more an indicator of your child mental well-being now than we are. So we have that. We have a social worker in the building. We have a crisis. So I told you about the crisis counselor. We are well staffed. We are back guidance staff as we were back when I started at Palmetto in 2002. And things were different back then. And we're very well staffed and we're very well skilled. I am very proud to say that I've never been around such a group of people who know what they're doing. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. But are we talented? We don't have a weak spot. So your counselors are here to help you. Your teachers are a wealth of knowledge. Many of your teachers have been parents that have gone through the college application process. They know what to expect, and they can help you, but you have to ask. If you don't ask for help, we presume you have it under control. That's a line I say to the kids all the time. If we don't know you're hurting, and I'm talking about the academic and the personal, we think everything is good. So I just want to make sure you know that we are there to help you. Our emails are all on the school website. Here are our emails. Congratulations, Miss Dwyer now has a title. And we didn't know it until Miss Dobbs said it a couple weeks ago.
It was fun.
We knew she was an interventionist.
One more slide.
And finally, guys, normally I would say don't go home and do this. Don't go home and talk about right now. Don't go downstairs or out of your office or off the couch and attack your child with everything we just said. You have plenty of time to talk. Take a deep breath. I know we have overwhelmed you. Geez, I've done this 20 times and I'm overwhelmed right now. The most important thing is that your dog doesn't go in the house. But the most important thing of all is that your relationship with your child is healthy. Okay? If they don't want you to read their essay, then it's okay, as long as somebody else does. If they want to talk to someone else about it, that's okay too. And if you do have a relationship with them, then utilize it. Okay? This is the time to be that kind of parent you always dreamed you wanted to be. Okay? And take this time. We're all stressed out because of our social situation going on in the world. And this is, and I've been saying this to the seniors all year, this is normal. Everything we talked about, maybe with the exception of the SAT and the ACT, is as normal as it gets. And as somebody who's been through this process, watching it, the most important thing is that when your child leaves for college, it's not because they want to get away from you. Okay,
A little bit.
that they you want them to miss you. You want them to, to want to come back home and enjoy life the way it should be. And hopefully the political world and the social world will calm down in the next few months, and you will be able to appreciate with what we have. So that's, words that I just live by when I go through this, watching and having it been done, and it's super important. I want to thank you all for joining us. I don't know if Gina, you've been writing, I think you've been writing down questions, or no, or haven't you? If you got any, I mean, we'll gladly answer anything. So
I've been going through here. The only ones really that I have not been able to answer is about SAT, and I'm not sure if you guys can answer those either. It's just crazy. A lot of people have had their sites canceled. They want to know basically if Palmetto, which is their site, is going to be able to do it in December. Do we have any insight?
As of this afternoon, it had not been canceled, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be canceled tomorrow morning. It's out of our hands. It's when we are told to cancel, we cancel. It's not a choice.
And one more time, it's not a Palmetto thing. It's not a Dade County Public Schools. Back in August, I remember telling the story about my friend in Philadelphia who went out to North Dakota to go take the test. They can't do that anymore. It's a national situation that the colleges are going to have to figure out a way to adapt to it. And it's not worthy of we are not at a point where we should be panicking about that right now. I know some of your children are well prepared to take the test now, and some of them have not done a thing. Patience is truly the virtue on this one. I know that's I hate that line, but it really is so important that this has been a test of our patience for the last 6 months. And as we endeavor into our third season of COVID, if we haven't learned patience yet, I think we have some learning to do still. And I think this is, it's a lesson for all of us. And just have faith in the process, I guess. I don't know who else have faith in except the process that your children are going to grow up to be healthy adults and be successful, as many Palmetto students have over the years. They are in good hands as long as you tell us what's happening and letting us help you. Okay. Be safe on your journey home.
Drive safe.
Watch the parking lot, because you never know who's out there. No, but be very careful. Stay safe. Wear your mask. Keep 6 feet away. What else can I tell you?
Hug your kids. Hug them.
You hug your children, because we can't. I mean, so please give your child a hug for me and Mrs. Dwyer and all the teachers who normally are not allowed to hug them, but we have been secretly hugging them. Not the last 6 months though. So I guess unless there's something comes up on the pop-up here, please feel free to email us. We'll start making appointments. We're going to go into the junior classes. So if you can give us a couple weeks before you start asking for appointments, that would give us the benefit of being able to give you the time you need. But as we get closer to Christmas and after the new year, we will gladly sit and meet with you via Zoom and or some other way. We'll figure it out. We're going to figure it all out. Thank you for attending, and thank you for I'm more impressed that there's still 100 people here. So
Thank you, everyone. I mean, we'll hang out for a couple more minutes if there's any last, but it's great. You've been on for 2 hours.
PowerPoint hopefully will be recorded. And yeah, it is recording still, and I'll have it up. We'll have it up tomorrow sometime so you can share it with your friends. Thank you once again. Oh, join my Facebook page, people. That's another one I didn't talk about, but it's another way of communicating. Thank you once again, and have a great night.
Thank you, Mr. Nierenberg. We're still recording?
Yep, I'm going to turn the recording off.